Hello there, Seraph17 once again. This is my Evil Within 2. Nightmare difficulty, no upgrades, no keys, and no damage. This is Chapter 12, The Bottomless Pit, and I know what you're thinking, right? How can you walk me through a game in how to take no damage? And I completely agree with you. I don't really think you can make a walkthrough for no damage anything. It's just part of the challenge that is in this run, and hopefully the strategies that I do will help you mitigate damage. But as far as not taking damage in a game like this, 100% up to your understanding of it and your ability to exact on a plan. So, this is an easy level. This is a short level, and this is also a level that I get a little bit lost in, because I thought I was on the third section and I was only on the second section, so I didn't see the door I was looking for, and I walk around like an idiot for about a minute. But the good news is, I don't die, so it shows just how flexible the section is that's coming up. But this very first room, I'm going to hug this left-hand side because I like going to the left. On my first playthrough, I went on the right. It's entirely up to you what you choose to do. There's an invisible wall over here as well. So you'll notice that I'm kind of hitting a wall here when I'm trying to walk diagonally, and I can only walk so far, so I have to start walking to the side. But there is a lost to my right. But due to the dim nature of this area, you get a lot of liberties in stealth. So the enemies can't see you at the distance they normally would, because it's all grim and grainy, and we're in this weird hell hallucination. But over here is a new enemy. It is a fat guy, and you would not think that you would be able to kill these with an execution from behind because they're too big. You can't do it to the smelly women, you can't do it to the witches, but for some reason this guy goes down in one stab, which I think is really cool, but at the same time it's like, if anything I would expect not to take, a single stab, it would be him. Yet he dies really quickly. So, very interesting that that's a mechanic. The only thing I know about that creature is that he has the ability to blow up. I don't know what constitutes it, because I've never seen it. I've just been on the receiving end of it while I was running. But other than that, he doesn't turn up too often, so you're not going to see him all that much in the game, even though I think he is quite interesting. And it kind of pays into this idea that I have, which I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I feel like the enemies in this game weren't paced out as well as they were in the first game. Not only did the first game have more enemies, but I think that they used them better. There were sections designated for them, where you had to combat them in a certain way for enough time to be like, yeah, I fought that enemy. We'll move to the next section. Ooh, this is a new enemy. And then you did the same thing. Whereas in this game, I don't really feel like you fight the dog things, the two humans sewn together with a weird face. You don't fight them that often. There's one in this mission, and it actually killed me, so that's something to talk about later on, because they have incredible awareness, and that running tackle that they do is almost impossible to avoid sometimes. It is ridiculously powerful. But you don't fight them all that often unless you get unlucky in Chapter 3. You fight them once in Chapter 3, you fight them once in, I think, Chapter 14, and that's like it. You don't really see them ever. And I'm not complaining because they're an evil enemy. They're very dangerous and they can be hard to tackle, even though you can stun lock them with a shotgun and kill them in 3 shells. But still, they're a pretty intimidating foe. But you never see them. And it's same with the fat guys. The fat guys show up here, and then they show up on the streets later on, and that's about it. You never get put into a situation where you have to take on the fat guys. And you could complement this by saying, it's a diversity of approaches to the game. They don't shoehorn you into one style. But when you create an enemy, at least put me in a situation where I have to figure it out and understand what it does, because I just run past them. I just completely ignore them and stab them in the back. That's it. Like, I've never had to be in a situation where they're ever a threat. Like, in that cabin shootout, can you imagine if there was less normal lost and more unique ones? The first wave could have been, three or four lost. The second wave could have been maybe 1 or 2 from the front and a fat one from the back. Then there could have been a witch. Then there could have been that big spawn at the end. And I think it would have been more interesting. Instead of just, here's a ton of scrubber women in shorts that you've been killing the entire game, and that one fella that's let this herpes virus go all the way up his skin and everything. Like, you fight the lost all the time. And there are these unique, interesting dudes that do crop up, and then you don't really do much with them. Like, the most you see of an enemy is probably the witch, and that's not even her name. Like, after this chapter, you're going to see a ton of the Hell Priests, which I think are called Harbingers, which is the boss we just killed, the flamethrower guy. He becomes a normal enemy, and he's everywhere. There's 3 or 4 of them in the business district, and then there's a zone when you're moving through where there's flamethrowers, where there's like 3 in 3 rooms. And then, when you play on survival, there's not even one. Completely removed. which I think is disgusting, because he makes that section. That section with the flame at the end is one of the most interesting stealth sections in the game, because there's flamethrower men everywhere and it feels really tense. And then you play it on survival and there's no flamethrower men. It's dumbfounding. Really, really strange. But if you're wondering what's happening right now, this is the part where I got lost. I'm looking for an entrance that has a staircase, but I'm not in the right place. So I've already probably looked at my way out, but I haven't correlated that I've looked at my way out because I'm looking for something different. So I'm actually strafing my way now back to the entrance of this area. And I check my map thinking, am I gone in a circle here? And I have. This is the entrance that I'm looking at right now of where I came into this room. So normally I would remove this and I would just cut to me being at the entrance and have that path going through the zone again. But I wanted to leave it in just to show you how safe you are on the outer edges of this zone. You will not get into any kind of bother or any kind of skirmish as long as you skirt these wider reaches of this zone. In the next one, which is the one I thought I was in, there's going to be one of those double-sided human things. And the Geminis, that's what I was calling them, right? The Gemini guys. And that thing can see you as if the game was being played normally, and it will come stampeding towards you, and you'll generally die. It's the only threat in this zone. So my recommendations if you're on classic mode is when you're doing this path, make sure you've got a freeze bolt or a smoke bolt or a shock bolt, anything to stop it from charging towards you if it does. And then just run past it. Because as much as I would say just run past it, it can be really difficult to do that. So just be careful. But over here there is a bed, and it's Lily's room, and there's a doll in the room, and the doll's what you've got to touch. I think it's behind me. Turn around, Chris. It's the doll. Over there. Left. Go left. Stupid man. Anyhow, I'm going the wrong way still, but it's on my left. As I'm looking behind here. Interesting zone, this one. Full of nothing, pretty much. Full of all kinds of strange stuff, but essentially full of nothing. And I'm still at that point where I'm looking for the wrong thing. Come on, Chris, just go back there. There's the doll. Or it might be over here, actually. Is this it? No, it's not here. Go back to the door. The door's important. You know the door's important. You understand that there's no staircase on this section now. Go touch the doorway. There you go. And it's just one of those things. I was getting ahead of myself is all. And it happens to the best of us. But you just have to touch this doll. And then the next section has the door that I was looking for. So he does a little slow motion walk, telling you you're in the right place. You touch the doll, and it's going to transform you into the next section. And the next section does the classic Evil Within 2 checkpoints of, I'm going to move on a path that's completely to the left of the environment, all the way around all the threats to get to the area we need to go to. I get killed by the stupid running Gemini, and it put me in the middle of the zone in a place I've never been in, and I couldn't tell where the bloody hell I was. So, word to the wise and a warning, that can happen. But this area is even easier than the last one to navigate because you can pretty much stand up the entire time because the visibility is so low in here. And if you get lucky, you'll have no problem from the Gemini either because he won't even rush you and you can just get to the staircase and never even knew he existed. But you're probably not going to see him have his moment with me, which is unfortunate because he's a bastard. But there's the crossfade. This is where it puts me. Like, where am I right now? And it turns out I'm in the middle of the zone I was skirting the left-hand side of. So do you see him just there? It's there. Did you see it on the right? The Gemini ran to the right just then. So I'm going to make my way around him. And like I've said already, this enemy has the ability to see you like he normally does. So there's no way you're going to crouch and get any kind of real immunity from him. So I recommend standing up here and moving as fast as you can. Because it doesn't feel very fair in the grand scheme of this environment because everybody else is super fair and they can't see you all that well unless you're close to them, and it gives you this feeling of power. And then he turns up and is just like, oh yeah, he's there 9 weeks away in that darkened corner, crouching, hidden behind a wall. I'm going to go and get him. And it feels really dirty. But get to these stairs, start running down the stairs, and you'll be out of this section and coming up on the end of this level. Because this is going to start messing with us once again as Theodore touches all the right buttons and we go back to Lily's room and Lily starts insulting us and then we end up in this really cool looking throne room that you don't do anything in ever, which is really disappointing because it looks amazing. And I was hoping we would fight Theodore in there and he would be a badass with a cane and do all kinds of crazy teleporting and fire attacks. And it turns out, That's just not where the game went, and you'll find out later on what I mean by that. But there's a lot of moments like this too, where expositional things are happening, there's interesting filters applied on the camera, and you're doing this kind of awkward-looking walk. But look at this room. This room looks fantastic, and it's only in the guide for a half a second, but it's still pretty cool, right? I liked it. And then we're back in our house, but it can't be real, can it? So these moments, once again, very scripted. You can look towards Lily's room. Sebastian will say something once you're inside Lily's room. I don't know if you need him to say something. You probably don't.
Just the way it used to be.
But there is a slide in here if you're interested in the collectibles. But you want to go downstairs and you want to examine the table because there's a letter on it from your wife and you need to examine it twice. If you examine it once, he won't read it correctly and it won't trigger the next part of the game, and you can walk around the house not knowing what you're doing like I did on my first playthrough. But touch it twice and then there'll be a knock at the door and then you'll be getting out of the dream world. So, or is this the real world? Is it a dream within a dream? Where's Leonardo DiCaprio? I don't even know. But I like looking out that windows for some reason. I did it on my first playthrough and I did it in the guide. But here is the note that you need to analyse twice. There's the cutscene. And then we can bust out of this place.
Theodore uses my own guilt against me.
But he's having a bit of an epiphany here. Wow, did you see the radio then? Did the radio just spin? I've never seen that before. The radio just spun. That was great. That was weird. God bless this game. But yeah, Sebastian's doing his little talking, his little personal victory. Knock at the door, touch the door, and then alas, end of level. Thank you very much for watching. You take care now.